Menno and Udo, were you guys big Focus fans before you joined the band?
My dad had this compilation album, and he had that album. It's the brown cover with like the photo with Hans Clover in there. And I think it's Martijn Drees. I'm not sure. It was a compilation album, and I remember when I just started out playing guitar kind of when I was like 15, something like that. So when I was around 16, I discovered that album, and I remember playing it repeatedly on the record player and checking out what they were doing. And I really loved Hocus Pocus back then, and I really loved House of the King, the hits and stuff like that. And then later on, I actually got to know the repertoire better when I started out playing together with Thijs in his own band called the Kongsi back then. And then I had to learn some of the other stuff as well. And, and I thought it was just brilliant, But I remember repeatedly listening to that compilation album for sure, yeah. I loved it, yeah.
My dad was also, it was one of the first live concerts my dad ever saw was of Focus. And then back then, Focus was even playing school parties. I think my dad saw Focus somewhere in Alkmaar, where he was. It's a little town in Holland where he went to school. I think that was where he saw Focus for the first time, and he was telling me about it, that he was so completely blown away by by this experience. He also mentioned that it was so loud. It was the loudest thing he ever heard. But he was also playing a lot of Focus records on vinyl at our home. So my whole youth I heard Focus music. I loved it also.
What is it like to go from being a fan of Focus and hearing it in your childhood home and then actually being part of Focus?
For me, it was I never thought, you never think of playing in a band like, for me it was not obvious to play in a band like that, but I met Thijs once at a party of a studio where I work, and we jammed, and we didn't even speak. We never talked that day.
Yeah, we only made music.
Yeah, and then I think a half year later, or maybe a year later or something, I got the call, Thijs called the studio to ask for my number, and then I was standing in the kitchen of the studio owner. So he said, yeah, he's standing next to me, so you can give it. So, and then it was Thijs. There was Thijs. Hey, Thijs. Hey, yeah, I shall come right to it. You want to play in Focus? I said, yeah, of course I want to play in Focus. You don't have to think about it? No, I don't. I really don't have to think about it. Okay, then you're the new bass player of Focus.
Wow. Just as easy as that.
That was amazing.
Amazing. Yeah, that was really weird. And then we had a rehearsal, and we went to the UK for the first gig. I felt honored, that I could play in a institute like Focus. I mean, it has such an history, and I mean the compositions are so unique, and also the fan base is amazing, all over the world, and they are so faithful and so loving, and they have a very loyal fan base, and probably they know every bass note that should be somewhere in the composition. So I better do my homework, Yeah. So, but I was embraced from the start, and people, it was like a warm bath. People really embraced me, and I'm very thankful for that. Also, I mean, this could have turned to a disaster, but it was the best thing that ever happened, to me. So
fantastic.
And what about you, Menno? Did you feel the sort of pressure when you joined the band? There's a lot of...
I joined the band before, when I was like 21 or 20. Thijs discovered me. He was looking for a guitar player back then for another band, for his own band.
Right.
And he got tipped by a friend of mine. I think it was Roland actually, Roland Jacobs, Ruud Jacobs' son. So Thijs got tipped, and he went over, and I was, we met at my parents' house, I remember, but it's a long time ago. And I ended up like joining that band. Back then, it was like a huge thing for me. That was like the first, very big artist to actually, embrace my talent and just like, take me along, you know what I mean? So that was like a huge thing already in itself. Second time around though, that's like about 10 years ago, I replaced Niels, the former guitar player, in England for a couple of shows because he got ill. And I must say, that was with Pierre on drums. Like the reunion in '97 was with Hans Kleuver on drums. This time around it was with Pierre, Bobby Jacobs on bass. And I remember it was just, that was just like from the first gig, I was bloody nervous because I hadn't played the repertoire for like years, right? So that was like a huge pressure in itself also already, also. But musically, it was like so great. I just loved it so much from the first second again, you know what I mean? And me rejoining for those couple of shows back then, that led to me actually rejoining the band, you know what I mean? And that was just back then when I rejoined for like real, I was just like, I'm going to grab this by the balls, I'm just going to like do it. And, you could also sense that the fans, they were already used to like other guitar players in the meantime, and I just got welcomed so much and it just fell all into place so good.
Right. Okay.
I just really wanted to do it and just play it and, at the same time pay tribute to the heritage and at the same time get my own voice in a bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that just blended perfectly. I'm the most happy guitar player to come out of this country, This is the best band ever, It's true. I really think so.